Three, two. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our tribe mastermind. It is now a monthly mastermind. I know for a while we're doing it bi-weekly or bi-monthly. Bi-monthly, yes.
There you go.
But we've changed it because we can go bigger and get a lot of people on. We're having a whole bunch of people filter in right now, so I'm trying to buy a little time. But as everyone comes through, let me tell you the format of what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about email. Most importantly, how to monetize your email list. We all have email lists. We all want to make money. We know how much money they can make. They are literally our printing presses. They are the lifeblood of our industry. Everything we do is talking about email media or email lists. So we have our experts. What we're going to do is we're going to talk with our experts for maybe 15, 20 minutes, however long. There's a little chat bubble. We want everybody to ask as many questions they want. You can ask multiple questions. Don't feel bad. Just start putting questions as you have them. If you have them now, ask them now. And what we're going to do is going to go about 90 minutes. The first part's going to be pretty much our experts dropping knowledge bombs on you guys. The last little bit is going to be answering all your questions. And again, if you have multiple questions, feel free to ask multiple questions. That's what we're here for. We want to help you guys make money.
Yes, so, and like I said, go ahead and put your questions in. Make sure you put them in the Q&A section if possible, not the chat, because that helps me, because I will be filtering those questions.
Yep. And just so anybody who doesn't know me, I am Ryan Alarid, your host. Darcy Erickson is, I don't know if you guys are at what views you guys have. Darcy Erickson is your other host. And on to our experts. We are going to start with Luke. Raise your hand, Luke. Luke DiMarco. He has spent the last half-decade focused on building marketing system and workflows to grow email lists in the health, wellness, and fitness spaces. On a monthly basis, he's sending more than 30 million emails to inboxes. That is an important thing, inboxes, around the world, and generating hundreds of thousands of clicks to offers on ClickBank and beyond. If he's not sending your emails out, or if he's not sending emails out, he's on the golf course trying to break 100, from what I hear.
Yeah, didn't work.
All right. Have you broken 100? What's your golf score?
I have, but this morning I did not.
Oh, I've never broken 100. I've gotten to 101. That's my best. I want to break it.
It's always hovering around there. Yeah.
But he's on the golf course or playing fetch with his little dog, Stella, up in Canada. Sorry.
Sir.
Right?
Right. Yeah. This is like the International Space Station coming down. This is basically where I am.
Yeah. Then down at the bottom, unless you guys are somewhere else, I don't know what your views is like, is our resident FBI informant, Christian McClure. His voice will be blacked out as well. It'll be hidden.
To protect the innocent.
That's right. But he is the director of business development at a very small and upstart company called BioTrust Nutrition. I don't know if anybody ever has heard of that. He works alongside another fella called Joel Marion. Christian believes that email marketing continues to be one of the world's most effective communication channels in the world and leverages it to send impactful messages to millions of people every single day. Christian, thank you for joining us. And finally, our third expert is Jason Krupsky. He's currently the email marketing director for Natural Health Sherpa and Metabolic Living. He's an 18-year veteran of the email industry. He began his email career in the multi-channel marketing industry in 2002, managing affiliate and email marketing programs for the Orvis company. He went on to manage online marketing efforts, including email and affiliate marketing for the Vermont Country Store and Verilux Inc. He's an expert in deliverability and segmentation practices and has worked in many email service providers, literally the small ones as small as Constant Contact to huge ones as Epsilon. And he has a little beagle. And his partner, Katie, Odie, everyone's got dogs. Christian, do you have a dog? Oh, you're getting a dog. You're getting a German Shepherd.
Yeah, from the affiliate manager for Natural Health Sherpa. So
there you
kind
go.
of related to Jason,
So in the family dog.
I know.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and one thing I know for a fact is I've drank with every single person here except for Jason. So at some point, Jason, we're gonna have to fix that. We'll have a drink. So first off, let's kick that off. Let's kick this off. I'm just going to throw a real softball question out there for you guys, and you guys can go ahead and answer it any way you want. Why should somebody with their email list send third-party offers? And what do you think the hesitation is for people who don't believe in sending third-party offers to their email list? Jump in.
Totally. I'll kind of jump off there. I think one of the main reasons why people should send third-party offers, and forgetting about sort of the hesitations at the start, is basically in this business, the person that can spend the most for the customer will always win. Like, you know, at the end of the day, money buys traffic. And if you're monetizing those names, those buyers, those leads after the fact with third-party offers, which is a fairly, you know, straightforward process of going out and going to people like Jason, Christian, Ryan, Darcy, you know, finding those offers. Each name becomes more valuable to you, and you can then go spend more money on traffic to acquire those names. So that's sort of my, you know, that's always been my sort of thought, and you know, I'm sure Christian and Jason have other reasons why, but I think that's probably a big reason for me.
Yeah, to add on to that, well, I first agree. I think that's like the foundation of it, right? That's just like the number one reason why. I'm glad that Luke kind of started out with that. I think it depends also as to how you're building your email list. You know, some people do customers only, some people doing leads. Like for example, before I was at BioTrust, we were at Six-Pack Shortcuts, I was at Six-Pack Shortcuts, the email manager over there, and we did a lot of lead gen just through quiz funnels, whether it was on Facebook or whatever. And a lot of the time they just didn't want to purchase after they were done going through the welcome sequence. They just didn't want to purchase our stuff, but they were still on our email list. And so what are we going to do? Just dump them? Or are we going to try to put something in front of them that they might want to buy? And so, you know, depending on what the source is, whatever the quiz was, let's say it's just something basic, like a fat burning quiz or whatever, and they're not buying any of your weight loss supplements, well, then maybe there's another high converting weight loss supplement, or weight loss, maybe something low cost, right? Depending on if it's a quiz funnel lead, then it's probably going to want something not super expensive. Like all of our stuff at Six-Pack was like $67, $97. So it's a hard sell for a quiz funnel. But if you have an affiliate offer that maybe has like a $7 free plus ship offer, and you can at least get some of those to convert, then you're leaving money on the table if you don't do that.
Yeah, I would agree as well. So we are pretty heavily focused on lead generation. So, you know, with that, going through quiz funnels, it really allows you to increase the LTV of your consumer. Whereas if you're just selling your products, it's really going to kind of shorten that LTV. And in this industry, you know, I've worked in multiple industries and past companies where you've got, you know, 20, 30, 50, 200, you know, 1,000 SKUs. You've got a lot to sell, but often we don't have as many products to sell. And to Christian's point, after you're trying to sell those products, it starts to dry up, and your LTV is going to start to dry up if that's your main focus. To give you an idea of, you know, how we generate, I was just pulling some stats this morning before the meeting, and I believe 81% of the revenue we generate from our from our email marketing program is affiliate revenue. That's a staggering number. So just with that alone, you can see how you can really extend the LTV of that consumer when you're collecting them, whether it's, you know, going through a quiz and pulling them in through Facebook or YouTube. But that's really been kind of the secret sauce for us.
And what would you tell someone, because I know I get this a lot when I talk to people, because I train a lot of affiliate managers, I build a lot of affiliate programs, and one of the questions I always ask is, do you recip, and what's your threshold for recips? And a lot of times I get oh, we don't do any third-party recips, or if we do, it's like 1 or 2 select partners. But for the most part, we don't do recips because we don't want to piss off our customers. We want to give them, only our message. We want to, what do you say to a business owner who has that thinking, who thinks, I won't, and again, their thinking is not necessarily wrong, right? But it's not right. So what do you tell them when they're like, I don't want to damage my list. I don't want to piss them off by sending third-party offers.
Okay, I'm going to step in here real quick, just to be the guy to tell you what you don't want to hear. Usually, when you have that mindset, it's not really the list that is saying that; it's actually your ego. You want to put your message consistently to the people that are paying for your ad. You're paying for the ads, right? You're paying for that exposure. You want your message to be out there. But if they're not buying your stuff or whatever, then regardless, you're going to be leaving money on the table. That's just how it is. That's just the truth. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts. And then you're going to say, well, some people are responding to my emails and saying that, no, why are you sending me this stuff? Well, that's going to be a numbers game no matter what it is. You could literally say, I love you to your email list, and someone's going to respond with, I hate you. So it's just, look at the numbers. That's just what it always goes back to.
And the notion that you think that your contacts are only on your email list and they're not on other people's email lists and getting third-party offers from other email lists. I think there's a lot of sort of, buyers in our space, and the common phrase is buyers buy, and they're going to continue to buy, and they're going to continue to be monetized. So even if you're not sending them third-party offers, there's probably a good chance that, they've bought from other companies in the past because they're a buyer, and they're being sent third-party offers by somebody else. So there's, there's a huge chunk of revenue that you're potentially missing out on.
And we have a special impromptu expert, Dee Braun. I know she wanted to say something. So go on, Dee.
Well, Jason doesn't really deal with the people who want recips or don't want recips. So I wanted to chime in. For us, it is revenue. It's not that we don't have standards for what we will send and, as far as compliance and whether it's cheesy and whether it's just a BS offer that's out for money. We have really high standards, but we do not do recips ever. If your offer tests out well and makes us money, we will send it all day long. But we are not going to burn our list because you want a stupid recip. And I know I'm going to piss people off, but I think they're idiotic in this space. In the influencer market, it's a little bit different. But in this space, they're just stone stupid when you walk away from a deal because somebody won't recip. If our offer makes you money and you don't send it, get an IQ test. Sorry. And same for us. If an offer makes us money and it meets our standards and we don't send it because you wouldn't recip, it's just ridiculous. So revenue first with standards is how we operate. And I mean, Jason and Christian represent 2 of the biggest people in this space. There's a reason that Joel and Sherpa are the biggest people in this space. So, you can take the advice or leave it, but that's my opinion. I probably pissed off half of everybody. Oh, well.
You've pissed me off, Dee.
He's got some strong opinions. Wow. Woo, passionate.
No, I think.
I'd also.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Christian.
No, I think that was Jason.
Oh, Jason.
Yeah, I was just going to add a little bit more around the hesitations topic. Just also, part of it is the relationship that you create with your list. And we do have very strict standards on what type of offers that we offer our email customers. And they know that. And as long as you develop that relationship with them and they know that we're looking out for them and we're not going to offer something that's just out there to pull money out of their pocketbook, I think they appreciate that. I mean, we go to the point of looking at, if it's a supplement, we'll go all the way down to the ingredients list. And we may even send some of those ingredients to one of the doctors that we work with, Dr. Rafalak, that creates our supplements. And if we have questions on any particular ingredient and what that does and how that interacts with your body and your metabolism. So as long as you create that relationship, I think people really will value that, and then you can really leverage that, and they're going to want to have those offers because they're going to know that they're very well vetted.
And I think that puts a very good segue into my next question. So we picked you guys because you guys represent 3 different levels of, I guess, sending affiliate offers. So you have all the way from Luke wants to make some freaking money, right? Your offer makes money, I'm sending it. You have Christian, who's maybe middle ground, saying, hey, I want to make money, but you got to have some, like, we got to vet you a little bit. And Jason's like, we have a freaking lawyer, so we want to vet you, right? So we have 3, tiers of vetting, I guess, or I don't even know what the proper way to say that is. So Luke, I guess let's start on you. What's your method behind how you send emails and offers?
So I do have like a tolerance to sort of what, goes out and what's not. Cause at the end of the day, like the list is like 100% of my business. It's the biggest asset in my business. Like I think Jason had said, like their affiliate revenue for third-party offers was 83%. Mine's 100%. So I can't afford to piss off my list with, kind of crappy offers. Having said that, I've got relationships with a lot of people in the space that I know that, like, if I get an email from Christian about BioTrust new offer, I don't really need to vet that. Like that's, I'm pretty confident that that's going to be a pretty kicking offer, not only like, in conversion, but like probably the ingredients are up there as well. And I know that like I've years ago attempted to get a physical product on ClickBank. And I know it's no simple task. You can't just throw anything up on ClickBank. So, I mean, there's levels to which I'm, going to tolerate things going out to my list, but for the most part, there's trusted vendors that I know that, if a product's going out, it's good. And I'll have a peek at the VSL beforehand, like nothing crazy claims. We went through a process, over the last 90 days with COVID-19, where there was some pretty crazy claims being made. And in March, there was some really crazy claims being made, and you can kind of see that the compliance kind of tightened up, and FTC got involved with a lot of stuff. So, that's definitely something that I keep my eye on, and I want to make sure that we're, staying within the boundaries, but at the same time, still monetizing to the maximum that we can. Like Dee said, if the offer makes money, and it's not making absolutely outlandish claims, there's some merit to what the claims are, then yeah, we'll send it out to the list.
Yeah. And what's your, Christian, you're kind of next on the totem pole, as far as how strict you guys are. So what's your process of whether you want to send an offer or not?
Okay. So, in terms of the vetting, in terms of compliance and all that, I would say we're kind of in alignment with Luke. But in terms of what we vet, we almost always go like monetarily, right? So we look at it from like money, like what is this actually going to make for us? And I don't know, how do I say this? Once you get to a certain point, once you are able to push enough traffic, you can start making deals that other people who can't push that amount of traffic are able to make, right? And so you can negotiate for higher payouts. You can start making deals like, I'll send you X amount of customers during this time span if you increase my CPA by 25% or whatever, right? And so a lot of the offers that we send out for are just people who actually know their numbers, who actually are able to make those deals and go in the red and, for maybe 3 months, 6 months, or whatever it is, however long they can, to get that upfront business, right? Not everyone knows their numbers, and some people think they know their numbers, and then they'll make a deal, and then, come to find out that they honestly pay too much, right? But that's rare. That's just if you're like, oh, Joel's gonna send for me or whatever. Oh, of course, whatever it takes. And then they just didn't really dial it in, and all of a sudden you get sent, 4,000 customers in a day, and you're like, oh damn, right? But on the flip side, for the people who do know their numbers and have something that's working within compliance, and you structure a deal, then you can get an incredible amount of traffic from some higher level people like Jason and Sherpa and Warrior and all them, So going, just kind of like tying the bow on that is essentially the way we vet offers, assuming they're compliant, is, you know, there's only so many slots on our calendar who can pay the most. That's really how it is.
Yep, that makes sense. And Jason, you kind of already touched on how you guys vet and why you guys vet. And I know Dee also commented on, you don't do direct recips, but if it makes money for your list, obviously you'll send and send and send again. But would you want to add anything, Jason, on your vetting process, or?
Yeah, I mean, generally, you know, we've seen, you know, thousands and thousands of offers, and we know what red flags look like. So, you know, it'll go through a pass through with D, and then if we see any red flags, we do run that through legal, and then there's a kind of a risk scoring process that we have based on FDA and FTC sensitivity, and then we, you know, make a decision internally. You know, if it's kind of in the middle zone, you know, we might send it. If it's high, we won't, or we may reach out to the affiliate and ask them if they can make some changes. So it's not that it's always a hard no, but if they're willing to work with us and make a few adjustments to some language, that may clear up the problem, and then we could send it. So it's not always a hard no. And then we have a pretty rigorous process of testing and thresholds that it has to go through in order for it to get to basically a full rollout. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that in a separate topic, but I could delve into that as well.
Yeah, and real quick, so everyone listening on Facebook, I know we're live on Facebook in the group. If you guys have questions, you're not in the Zoom, but you're on the Facebook, go ahead and put them in the Facebook comments underneath, and we're going to go ahead and start answering them in a little bit. And if I'm pretty sure Megan D'Amico is answering, she's my partner in Affiliate Moguls. Megan, if you can go ahead and just take any of those questions, just throw it in the Zoom Q&A, that'd be awesome. So hopefully you're listening, which I'm pretty sure you are. So thank you, Megan. And anybody, again, if anybody has questions, we already have a few already in here.
We have a few. George and Jeffro, I see you. We're find the right time to get them in there. So,
so keep putting your questions in. We're going to get to them in just a few minutes. I do have another kind of a topic about list hygiene. So how do you guys what do you guys individually do to keep your list clean?
If by clean, do you mean basically like making sure that we're, you know, maintaining high open rates and, you know, domain reputation and all that?
Exactly.
I think it goes back to, you know, primarily how you're sending frequency. So I think it's just a basic formula, essentially. You know, if you're sending twice a day, which we do, then you send to your 30-day openers, right? And you monitor that daily. Depending on your ESP, your email service provider, you can look at deliverability. Like, for example, Maripost, there's a tab in Maripost that you can break down deliverability across all ISPs. So you can see where your opens are across Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, whatever. But not all ESPs, that's kind of higher level. So not all ESPs have that functionality. So when you don't have that functionality, then you just want to make sure that you are basically tightening up the segment if you aren't reaching a certain open rate. For us, 15% is probably pretty solid. And that's going to be different for leads lists versus customer lists versus whatever, right? Customer lists are going to have more engagement. So you might want a threshold of, say, 20%. Quiz leads, for example, if you're getting like anything below 10%, you want to tighten that up. But yeah, so going back to what I was saying, basically, if you send twice a day, send to your 30-day openers. If you're sending once a day, send to your 60-day openers, and include clickers too. So 6 times the segment of your openers, include the clickers. So if you're sending to your 30-day openers, include 180-day clickers. If you're sending to 60-day openers, then include 360-day clickers. And that's pretty much what
that's a knowledge bomb, by the way, that Christian told me like 6 months ago. We got on a call and we kind of hashed that out. And I didn't realize that, but yeah, like because we do a lot of times we'll go down to even as small as 15-day openers. But we always keep the clickers, because I mean, openers are, you know, kind of one breed, but like the people that clicked and interacted with the email, that was a knowledge bomb. And I want to make sure that people that were listening knew that was, that's pretty important to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first time Joel tested that, it increased his revenue like 189% just by including the clickers. So if you just do that and you only take away that from this call, I think that would be worth your ROI.
100%.
It's huge. It really is huge.
I go through the pain every day of setting up, and we use Maripost, so we've got that tab that says deliverability here, there, and so on. But different campaigns for Comcast, Gmail, Hotmail, and then all the other smaller domains. And each domain gets a separate IP. They call them IP spreaders. And that's getting into like some super complex stuff, but to maintain deliverability at a lot of those domains, I'm sending separate campaigns every single day to those emails that are on my list. So they're getting different campaigns, and I can see like today Comcast opened at this rate, or Gmail opened at that rate, or this is what we inboxed at Gmail. Because I don't know, Jason, Christian, you guys can probably talk to this. For a long time there, Comcast was kind of, a wash, and so was Hotmail. And based on our efforts, it looks like it's coming back. But there's some pretty crazy stuff that you can sort of bucket down and do.
Yeah, we segment similarly. We do send out Comcast in its own segment, as well as Microsoft, because we handle Microsoft frequency, and we are return path certified. So in order to keep that certification and not have spikes in our SRD rate, there's a lot of manipulation you need to do with Microsoft. And especially once you get to a really high volume, your threshold is really dependent on volume, but I'm kind of getting in the weeds there. One thing I wanted to talk about, which we didn't touch upon as far as hygiene, is when you're doing high volume email and you're pulling in a lot of new emails from quizzes and other sources that you may not have a high propensity to purchase, we pull them into our ARs, and what we do is we do filter out a good majority of those emails after about anywhere from 3 to 5 days. We play around with that, and if basically they haven't clicked within that time, we don't mail them. Or excuse me, open within that time, we don't mail them. I don't know if you guys do any similar tactics in your autoresponders for your prospects when you're doing high lead gen, but we find if we keep them in and we continue to mail them, basically our autoresponders they're about 25 days for that prospect autoresponder when they come through, and we don't want to continue to mail them for that period of time. So basically we remove them from mailing if they haven't opened within about 5 days or so. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly
similar
what we,
with you guys?
yeah, that's exactly what we did, especially at Six Pack. To kind of a nod over to Sherpa too. We had a quiz funnel, and this is before BioTrust. But yeah, we had a quiz funnel, and we were getting crap open rates, and that was kind of like a learning curve. I was like, oh damn, we put them into like a 15-day segment, but they weren't like, maybe after the first 2 emails, no one was opening anything almost, right? Maybe the openers were getting we were getting 5% on like emails 4 and 5, but then it really tailed off. And then we were sending from the same IPs to our customer list, right? So then all of a sudden how do I explain this? The deliverability issues that we were running into through this crappy quiz funnel leads were impacting our customer leads because we were sending from the same domain, the same IPs. But the nod to Sherpa is that the quick fix that we did is, one, we shortened the autoresponder, and we did segment them off. If they didn't open after email 3 or 4, we just put them into a dead segment. But then our last ditch effort was actually, we had a quiz funnel, and Sherpa has a quiz funnel, and they were paying at the time CPL. And so what we were doing is, and they had tested their from names and subject lines to get the opens. We were getting crazy open rates from just our normal broadcast send to that creative, with that creative. And so we just put that into email number 2. So even right after the welcome email, it was like 4 hours later, we sent them from a Sherpa email with, I think it was the from name was avoid breakfast, and subject line was hard boiled eggs. And that creative was killer. We killed it. We were getting like 30, even with the quiz leads, we like tripled our opens, and the click-through rate on that email was like 45% or something ridiculous, right? And so that did a couple things. Well, at first it got us the open, we started netting more opens from these quiz leads. And I think at the time we were getting these quiz leads for like $1 off of Facebook. And Sherpa was paying $2, right, for each of those opt-ins. And so we were getting, just from that, having that email in there, we were getting like 25 cents back, or 25% of our ad spend back, just by putting that right there. And that's if they never bought anything, ever, right? If they only opened that email, we were getting about 25% of our ad spend. And so if you could find someone like Sherpa, or maybe Warrior, or anyone else with a high quiz funnel, and you're doing a quiz funnel, I think that's why it works so well, because they were conditioned. We got them from a quiz. They were conditioned to be taking quiz. They enjoyed taking quiz, and that's why they converted so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do a lot of similar tactics often with some of the Transformation Insider free reports and some other things. So kind of front load our autoresponders with the CPL offers. So you're obviously going to get a lot of attrition that's going to happen over the course of, if you've got a 20 to 25 day autoresponder, but people might not be likely, as you're stating, likely to buy, but they love quizzes and they love free reports. So they may be more than willing to throw their email into one of those offers, and you're better off kind of front loading it. So because after 25 days, you're gonna have a lot less emails rolling through. So front load it with some of those, and it kind of warms them up into it. And maybe they already purchased your product or they didn't, but you're at least gonna recoup some revenue from like a CPL if you can get one.
We just rolled out a
5 days.
I was gonna say, we just rolled out a CPL that we're paying on like an SOI, a simple opt-in, like just an email. And I know that a lot of people are using that bundled with sort of the creatives that we tested internally to like just kind of exactly like you guys said, recoup either ad spend on email acquisition, customer acquisition, or if they're buying Facebook names or whatever. But that does work really, really well.
And it's not just hard-boiled eggs. They like soft-boiled eggs and scrambled eggs too.
I still get variations of that email from like
My mom forwarded me that email.
Yeah, everybody's got variations of that email now.
I was like, how'd you reach my mom? There's like 55-year-old Mexican lady. Should I buy this? And I was like, I'm torn here. I'm torn.
I just want everybody to know we all got giddy off a good subject line and friendly from.
Oh yeah. Oh, we've all at one point in time. You don't lie and say you haven't. We've all forwarded an email to someone and be like, check out this subject line. Right?
Absolutely.
Or sometimes it's either Natural Health Sherpa gets me all the time, but sometimes I'll get a subject line and I'll be like, wow, and I will click it. I'll be like, holy smokes, what is this email about?
Yep. Cool. So let's pivot into start answering some Q&A. So I want to hand it over to Darcy to have start the Q&A process.
Yes, because George has asked 3 questions now. He's been so patient. Thank you, George. So George's first question, what are all your thoughts on Facebook leads ads versus standard PPC on Facebook?
I don't run a whole lot of Facebook stuff. Like a lot of the CPL that we have, we take in a lot of email, like doing mailings. So, people will mail it and we'll pay them $2 or whatever we'll pay them per email lead. I haven't tested a whole lot on Facebook just because I kind of stick in my lane. Email's what I know and email's what I focus on. So I'll leave that question to these guys.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, Darcy?
Yeah, it was. So what are your thoughts on Facebook lead ads versus standard PPC on Facebook? From George. George, if you want to specify, you can always drop it in the Q&A too.
That's not my wheelhouse either. I wouldn't want to comment on that.
And George, we're a little bit more on the email train here, so we can probably segue over to the next question, which is from Jeff Rowe. When you guys test a third-party offer to your list, how big of a segment do you send for the test? That's a little bit more up your alley.
I could jump in on that last one though.
Sure.
So we've tested both, and we find that when you go with more of a PPC and you're trying to target buyers. Just even though it's a higher cost to acquire those leads, we generally have a much higher LTV for those consumers. So we really don't, we've strayed away from doing just the lead ads collection. So if that should answer the question, but I would just test it and see how, obviously the lead ads are a lot cheaper, but they don't perform as well for us, but test it out.
Cool, thank you. And then going back to Jeffro's question here, which is a little bit more apropos to Luke and Christian. So when you guys do test a third-party offer to your list, how big of a segment do you use for the test?
I typically,
yeah, go ahead, Luke, go ahead.
So if it depends, it's different if I'm mailing leads versus buyers. But I'm typically not testing to anything under 10,000 people. I mean, I think it's going to super depend on how big your list is, right? If your list is 1 million people, I think it's going to differentiate versus, a list that's only 100 or 150,000 people. But I think a sweet spot, you're going to get good results on a 10,000 send.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say, I guess. I mean, first of all, I agree. I 100% agree with Luke. I think you definitely need a sample size that would make the test viable. You want some statistical significance for sure. But it also goes back to, how many lists do you have? How many segments do you have? Like Joel, he has one humongous list, right? As opposed to Luke, who might have different sources where they all come in differently, right? Different demographics. The way Luke acquires his list is completely different than how Joel does. And so it might be easier just for Luke to be like, well, I have this one offer and I have different segments that are all different demos, and it makes sense to send it to this one specific segment, because I feel like this, for example, over 30 hormone female offer is going to work well with a female segment and not just a unisex segment or some sort of male ED offer or some shit like that, right? Mm-hmm. But with Joel, he has just one huge list that he gets all his, and they're all come from the same source. They're all mixed. They don't acquire any sort of demos. It's just harder. So for that, you can just break it off into a smaller segment, make it statistically significant, like Luke said, and I guess just go from there. Would you add anything to that, Luke or Jason?
Yeah. So, we obviously have a very similar size list to what you're mailing, and what Joel's got for a list. So it's over 1 million. So, we do have the luxury of having very large segments. So in general, if we're looking to see what a conversion is on a purchase, it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 150, 160,000 emails. However, if it's for leads, we can drop that down to, it's usually somewhere around 15 to 20,000. And with that, 150, maybe we're getting anywhere from, maybe 25 to 40 orders. And it's not a huge volume, but it's significant enough so we can get a directional read. But if you don't have a list that's that large, you're going to have to rely on your open rates and CTRs and make your call off of that.
Very cool. So this one is, first off, this is from Advertise Health for Christian. Dope haircut, Christian. No more caveman vibes. I don't know what your hair looked like previous to this, but apparently it was a little rough. But hey, Corona, okay?
Yeah.
So this is a question for everyone, but a comment about your hair specifically. How do you guys vet CPM partners / list rentals? And do you assess their links pre-send? Do you run their creatives through spam tools, etc.?
Luke or Jason? The reason I wasn't going to chime in is because we actually don't take on CPM offers anymore. But the one little blurb I'd have on that is the reason we don't do it is because sometimes CPA, we can scale CPA, right? When we have an offer that works, we just want to flood it. We don't want some like a one-off. And so for people who are kind of iffy on CPMs, maybe you can do a minimum, right? Maybe negotiate a higher CPA or whatever you can do. Let's say people are paying $50 CPA and you run the numbers and you're like, well, I could probably make $1,200 from this. I need at least $1,200 to run this. Will you guarantee me a CPM of $1,200 or whatever it is, right? But then I take the CPA if it's higher. That would be the only way we kind of do CPMs. And to follow up on the other questions, do you assess their links pre-send? Yeah, because we are taking into account the CPA as well. If you were just doing CPM only, the only reason I would assess their links pre-send is to make sure it's not terribly off-brand. Like a female list, you want to send them like a male only offer, for example. And they're running their creatives through spam tools. We mostly work with people we know, right? We don't just run off. Most people that we run offers for, we know they're reputable or whatever. So we hardly ever do anything like that with spam tools. But I'll let Luke and Jason go from here.
Yeah, I'm not, we don't do a whole lot on CPM, specifically because kind of what Christian said, like if, you know, I'll mail an offer, I'll look at the data, and then depending on sort of if that hits the threshold of eCPM and all the numbers and the reporting that we look at, I'll scale from there. And a lot of times the CPA is the way to go for us. In terms of assessing links and creatives through spam tools, a lot of time I'm tweaking the creative a little bit. So it's not the same stuff that everybody else is sending. Like I think too often with email, people think that it's just like the golden goose, that you can just take the creative from the sheet and throw it into the email service provider. But you have to realize that there's probably 1,000 other people sending that same creative, and Google's, you know, they're keeping an eye on that. So I'm tweaking the creative here and there to change it up a little bit so that what I'm sending my list, even though it might be the same offer, might be a little bit different. So it might sell the click a little more within reason, of course, because I would hope that, you know, emails are tested and so on and so forth by the vendor. I'm also running all of my links through my own, I don't want to call it a cloaker, but it's basically a tracking system. It's called Volume, VOLUUM. So I don't send like raw ClickBank or BioTrust or Health Sherpa links. Like when I'm sending offers, I don't send the raw affiliate link. I set it up through my like third-party ad tracker, and I send that link. So I can keep a pretty close eye on the reputation of that domain. So it's usually pretty high.
Yeah, just for maybe people who don't understand it, as haven't been in the game well long or whatever, the reason that there is that a kind of middleman to begin with is because if you send an email, let's say you're sending email from, you know, support@mycompany.com, and within that email you're sending there's a CTA to a link for support@theircompany.com, and theircompany.com has bad domain reputation, then it kind of rubs off on your sender's domain. So that's the reason that you would want to do that.
Okay, moving along, George. George has been very active on this Q&A. Thank you, George. How do you guys organize your editorial calendar in terms of frequency, content, sending to unopened, segmentation, cleaning, etc.? There's a lot in that question, so I can repeat if necessary.
Could you maybe copy paste that in the Zoom chat?
Yeah. Yes. George, we're going to come back to that one. How about, George also wanted to say that he has seen many top affiliates go to medium buying business models and abandon their list building. Is there a good resource to find affiliates who have a robust email list without buying everyone's product to get on their list?
I guess you could talk to Darcy at who's at ClickBank, and she's got all the. I keep a close eye on the ClickBank marketplace. Like and a lot of times the gold isn't. I mean, the offers on the first page are the ones that are kicking butt and converting. But every once in a while, that offer that's on the 6th page that's only been out for a day and hasn't gotten any traffic yet, but it's going to be on the first page. Those are like, it happens sort of like, every 2 or 3 months that's the offer. It just happened with one, in March. And then I remember it happened with one before that in November. So I keep a pretty close eye on the ClickBank marketplace and other marketplaces as well.
And he just Skypes me often too. I was like,
and I also just yesterday, I was like, this person showed up on my ClickBank gravity score. Let's mail.
Let's talk about it. Right.
Yeah.
Any other feedback? Or I can move on to the next question. Anyone?
You can go back to George's if you want.
Yeah, go back to George's.
Yeah. So how do you organize your editorial calendar in terms of frequency, content, sending to unopens, and segmentation, cleaning, etc.? Yeah, that is quite the mouthful.
It is a question.
In terms of by editorial calendar, do you mean like forecasting? If that's what you mean, like how far in advance we forecast, Honestly, not more than a few days. Things, because offers come out all the time, new creatives come out all the time. Let's say I queue up a month worth of work, and then someone comes up to, hey, Christian, I have this old offer that was crushing it, was dead because we don't have any new creatives. Well, we have a brand new creative, and if you send it today, you might be the first one to hit be first to market. You'll gobble up a lot of the customers. That is worthwhile, and that happens quite frequently, actually. If you have a larger affiliate network, you get those once every couple of days or whatever, right? And then if I was to queue up 30 days worth of work, now I have to do that all over again, right? So it's just better just to kind of go day to day. And I literally queue it up maybe 2-3 days in advance, and I'll sometimes, even then, that's too long. But that's for the forecasting. In terms of frequency, we do every 12, like we try to do 2 a day, every 12 hours is a good, or we do 1 in the morning, 1 in PM. And that really goes back to, and I'm kind of answering all of this, sorry guys, you guys could totally jump in. I'm just kind of rapid firing, but just to answer this last one here. And yeah, in terms of the frequency, it really just depends on, you know, how often you can send. If you can send every 2 days or two a day, and you're not burning out your list, you're seeing high open rates, and you're not losing, you're still netting more subscribers, then do that for sure. But then I'll let everyone else kind of jump in the content, and also we never send to unopens. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
And Christian, what time do you usually send in the morning and the afternoon that you found?
Okay, well, see, it depends, because with Joel's list, it's so freaking large that we have to send at like 4 or 5 in the morning, because it takes so long to send. It's like 4 million active, right? So it takes a long time to send all those emails. Like the last email doesn't even go out for like another 3 or 4 hours later, right? And so if we were to schedule, but then like a smaller list that I manage is like 30K. We'll send it out at 7 a.m. and it's done sending out all the emails within 5-10 minutes, right? But usually it's about 7 a.m. Really depends on your time zone too. And then I kind of I like to do it maybe like 4 p.m. is the second one. I usually like to go. Yeah.
I guess to speak to that, the way we organize our editorial calendar, the offers that we're sending, we are sending at a frequency that's generally once a day, and we're sending at midnight. We've tested into that. And essentially our offers, we evaluate them, and they have a certain threshold that they have to meet for profit per thousand. Then so we'll send out an initial test and vet the offer, whether it's, you know, a CPL or CPA offer. And if it meets that threshold, then we'll start to test into that with different copy types, variations, and then we'll roll into another phase of from name testing and subject line testing, and then it'll get to a rollout stage. Once it gets to that point, we should have maybe a couple different copy variations and a couple different from name subject line combinations, and then we really mail it, but we have to see how it reacts. And different offers have kind of a different time period for sending. Sometimes you could send one every week and it's not going to degrade in ppm, but others you may need a far longer rest period. It may be 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or some or even a month if we've been mailing them for a long time. So really that ppm and the time frame that we can mail it really dictates what that editorial calendar looks like. But we do that basically weekly. We go through and figure out what we're going to send, but we don't really schedule things out that much further in advance.
Yeah, like I'm probably, actually, I had a call with Christian about this like a month ago, the same call that we were talking about the clicks, but I got to a point that I was like, you know, kind of trying to figure out, is it viable to do a calendar, you know, 15 days out, 30 days out? And it's not. Like I have a general idea of what is going out, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this weekend. I've got it in a spreadsheet. But it won't be basically until today that I go in and I set the creative that I'll go back and look at the creative data and make sure that it's all ready to go. The from name, the subject lines. We were sending twice a day in February, March, April, and the first half of May. We slowed down to once a day at the end of May, just because I saw some pretty big fatigue in terms of the PM open campaigns. But as of sort of this, the Monday that we just had, we're back up to sending twice a day, once in the morning at like 7:30, and then once at the night, once in the PM. There's a lot of creatives that are specifically like molded around like do this tonight or do this tomorrow morning. So I do a lot of that stuff in the PM and reserve it for that, and that seemed to work pretty well.
Very cool. So we do have a question from Facebook. So this comes, I'm not sure, from Ben, I'm sorry, Ben Middlemans. So as an advertiser who can't do reciprocals and his company is Golden Hippo, aside from a good performing offer, what other things can we do to become more desirable to work with?
I work with a lot of offers that don't do reciprocals. For a long time, probably for a span of 2 years, I had no offer. So I was just mailing. All I was doing was mailing. I didn't have anywhere for them to reciprocate back. What appealed to me was someone like Wes at Healthy Back. I got a commission bump because they weren't reciprocating. Other people are constantly sending me just new creatives, kind of staying on top of the pulse of what's going on. Like sometimes even actually, this is really great and this is kind of speak to, what makes it so easy for an affiliate like me to mail, is basically staying on top of the numbers and following up. Like, Jim from Dr. Kareem, he followed up in a couple days ago and was like, this is what the mailing did. How do these numbers look? How can we improve and continue to roll that out? So little stuff like that, as well as paying on time. That's a big one.
Yeah.
But so it's little stuff like that adds up.
Yeah. That I agree with everything Luke said. And one little, just I guess, I don't know, it's not even a secret. I don't even know how to explain it, but just I guess a tip is that, if you can't reciprocate, or even if you can, it doesn't matter if you can or cannot. If you have a new creative for an offer that just tested well, give it to your top mailers first, right? The people who can generate the most traffic, and just give them a deadline. Like, listen, we just tested this. It's doing whatever 20% better than the control. And if you can send it within the next 3 days, you'd be one of the first people to mail. In 3 days, we're going to, release it to everyone else. And so it gives them kind of like a sense of urgency. It gives them, and like, oh, thanks for thinking about me. Because that really does make a difference. If you are the first to mail a new creative that is performing well, it will do better for you in many different ways. It'll inbox better because Gmail would have seen that it's kind of a brand new creative. 10 million people have not just sent this. It is a brand new creative. So people who do see it because there's so much overlap in the lists, right? The lists are so freaking huge that you might have 10% of the people on my list might be on Luke's list or Jason's list or whatever. And you want your list to be the first list to see that email. So that's just one of the easiest ways. And it requires no effort. And you just make a little list of premieres, people who have done the most business for you, who could potentially do the most business for you. Limit it to maybe 10, depending on how big your affiliate list is, and just give it to them. Make it very blatant that hey, I am going to send this to the rest of the people in 3 days or whatever. Give them enough time to put it on their calendar, and just be like, thank you for being a partner. I appreciate your business.
I have something to add to that. A lot, when you have a setup where there's teams, which we do at Sherpa, responsiveness is huge. If we need something, we need it. We're asking for it for a reason. And Sherpa's a pain in the butt. Anybody we've worked with knows that they get a whole stinking list of questions that I need to have answered. But I wouldn't ask you to do it if I didn't need them, right? So I need you to actually answer all the questions, not just answer the ones you think I need, because Jeff will send me right back and we won't approve it until I get the answers. I love what Christian and Luke both said and agree with that. But being responsive, make it easy. There have been times that we ended up not sending offers because the partner was such a pain in the butt to get anything from that there's no way that it was worth it. So the easier you make it on us to send for you, give us. Ed Scow had a great post in the group today. Everybody needs to go read that post, because it, as a partner sending, it's a really big deal, and it wastes our time and it costs us money.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're guilty of all of that. I'm just, you asked the question. So.
And for just to summarize Ed's post, you should read it still, because he articulated the point much better than I will right now. But in a summary nutshell, he basically said, just make it as easy as possible for your affiliate to send for you. Don't have them clicking through links. Don't have them going digging through the affiliate platform to send you money, right? Give it to them, everything in one email, where all their links are, all their creatives, the front name, the subject line, everything they need in one email, no Google Docs, nothing. Literally to the point where they can just copy paste. And if you think of the less friction, the better. It makes sense.
Yeah, like I always train affiliate managers, especially if it's like a text-only email. I say, hey, paste the link in there, paste the text in there, but also hyperlink the words you want linked. And then in addition, I tell them to attach the email to the email, because you don't know how they work. Everyone works a little bit different. So if they want to just copy and paste out the email, boom, there you go. If they want to download it and then, send it to somebody else because they may not be doing it, there you go. Like you said, making it as easy as possible. And like Dee said, responsiveness, because a lot of these guys, like everyone on here said, they don't have a calendar a month out, right? So if you don't know what you're sending tomorrow or the next day, and Christian goes, oh my God, I heard about this offer. It's going to be great. Let me reach out to this offer. If they don't get back to him right away, they're not sending. So Christian probably knows, actually everyone knows, you probably have a list of affiliate managers or offer owners in the back of your head who have good offers and respond like that. And they stick out, and those are your go-tos.
Oh yeah, totally.
Another thing is, please don't send freaking images in these emails. Do not screen capture your leaderboard. Do not screen capture the stats that you've got for us. Don't screen capture your email creatives or your contest details. Number one, not everybody accepts HTML emails. Some people only will do text. And number two, some of us have teams and we have to share it in different platforms, and it is a royal pain in the ass, and it is friggin' lazy. But please stop.
I also should, and maybe you guys are going to tell me like the secret of the universe, and this is going to be the tip that I take away from the call, but it's next to impossible to save an image from a Google Doc, right? Am I missing something?
I don't know how to do it either. Literally all I do is I drive myself crazy trying to do it. So what I'll do is I'll take a screenshot.
Exactly. Yeah.
In a Google Doc. It's like, why does it have to be that way?
So there's some people that will hyperlink it to their like AW or like their S3 account, but like you get someone with a big email address that sends out your S3, and then you get a big old S3 bill the Amazon S3 bill the next month. So yeah, that's actually the one stickler that I always have, is that it's impossible to save images in Google Docs. You can right click and save to keep.
Affiliate managers think that they're making it easier on their partners to give everything in a Google Doc. You're not. I have to click, and then I have to go back and forth and copy and paste it all. And if you'd have just stuck it in a damn email, So sometimes we overthink things. And that's one of the things that I think affiliate managers overthink.
Yeah. And one last thing that's kind of off topic, but still kind of relatable to the same question. Some people, how do I explain this? There's going to be some people that just get bombarded with emails. Please send my offer. Please send my offer. Please send my offer every single day. Right. And then you might run into them at a conference or, interact with them later. It's like, how come you ignored me? Right. It's like, oh man, I wasn't ignoring you. I didn't mean to ignore you. It's just something gets lost. It could be, doesn't even have to be you're that busy. It could just be, I was driving when I received your email. I forgot about it once I got home. Right. The point is, if you want someone to mail your offer, you can hit them up 3 or 4 different times. Ryan, I'm going to steal this one from Ryan Sapling. He said, what was it? It was something along the lines, essentially like, you're not bugging. If I'm not responding, it's because you're not bugging me enough. it's not because I'm not responding because you're bugging me. It's that I'm not responding because you haven't bugged me enough. Please ping me. And I think there is a statistic, they run some studies, like you get emailed like 6 or 7 times before you get a response, something like that. But yeah, just let other people know that it does require a few different nudges, right? You might need an email or two, and then from Facebook and Skype, get any other, kind of every avenue until you at least get a response, right? And if they don't hit you, if they really do ghost you after, 5 to 10 different touches, then maybe it is, it's just their nice way of saying, I just wouldn't send your offer regardless.
You can go too far though with that. I mean, we had a company that we actually booted from the group because they go too far. Don't do those 5 or 10 touches all in a 36-hour period.
Right.
And give us a chance to answer.
Right. And the way you approach it is everything, right? Like, hey, I know you're busy. Just a few minutes of your time would be huge. You don't have to jump on a call. Here's everything in one email. One thing that does get to me a little bit that I feel bad is just when someone does reach out to me, sometimes they'll be like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, I don't have time to go through a huge conversation. Like, what do you want? What do you need right now? Right. That's really what you're trying to get at. So sometimes I would just rather have it like, hey, Christian, I know you're busy. This is exactly what I want from you. Can you do it? Yes or no? Like, to me, I show respect to that. It's like, yes, I can. No, I can't. Boom, done. Right. Just move the needle. Not like, that might sound cold, but for some people who do have limited time, it's very important.
And it also comes down to, so everything you guys said is what I always teach all my field managers, called what I call polite persistence. So you want to be persistent, because when I got married a couple years ago, I was gone out of the country for a month. And I saw an email chain from this dude saying, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah. By 2 weeks in, he's like, why you got to be a fucking dick and ignore me? I'm like, I'm sorry, I was away. Like, obviously, I'm not going to do business with you right now. But again, it also goes to experience, because there are people in this industry who want to talk. They're talkers. They want to be on the phone and talk to you. And other people like Christian, Ryan Saplin, get straight to the point, no fluff. Am I going to make money or not? Give me all the stuff I need, right? But it's about knowing who you're working with. And again, that does take time.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to say, like, to have all of the info. Like, when I first started working with like a specific Agora imprint, like this is probably 2 or 3 years ago, they were hitting me up all the time, mail this, this is the stuff. But like, they sent everything in one, perfect email, the creatives, the post-back link, everything was in one email. And it was probably 4 or 5 months of like, us not mailing the offer. And then one weekend it was like, okay, we're going to mail this offer. We're going to roll this out. And it's been an amazing relationship ever since. Right. So it's just a matter of like, yeah, Christian's right. Like, sometimes that email inbox gets filled up with like, hey, this is the new offer. And everybody sends, hey, this offer is crushing it. $18 EPCs. We're going to pay you. Basically, it's going to come from our merchant account to your bank account. So I think it's important to, that polite persistency. And then you build the reputation, right? Like, now I know Christian sends me an email about the new BioTrust product. I should probably get on mailing that pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. So we've got another question from Jeffro. Moving on, I'm going to read it the way exactly it's typed out here. So we might need some clarification. For Gmail promotions tab, do you have a specific process to avoid landing there?
That's the $1 million question. I've found, and we work with a deliverability expert to help us with this. And sometimes for like a week, and as much as it goes against everything that I want to do this, but like sometimes for a week, we'll constrain everything down to like 15-day openers and mail from a static from name, which in our case would be like Vital Health or Caitlin Brown, depending on what we're mailing. And, after a week, we'll look at sort of where the inbox is landing, and we use tools that'll say, like, does it go, like, we seed our lists so that I know, is it going to spam, promotions, updates, inbox. And for a lot of the cases, that typically tends to put us back into where we need to be.
Yeah. I think Jason, go ahead, Jason.
We do have a process for this, and we do heavily test around it. So first and foremost, we pre-test everything before it goes out to an internal group. And, we do use monitoring tools, so we know before it sends, if it's going to promotions or not. But what we've found, you know, your IP reputation, your domain reputation definitely influences how kind of tight or loose you have to be. With a high domain and IP rep with Gmail, you can get away with a lot more. If you're in the medium, you may be having to monitor and test your copy from names, subject lines very vigorously, and there may be some you're going to get kind of spotty results. Some are going to go to promotions and some are going to go into the main inbox or updates. And I've found often it can be random phrases within your copy, and you can go through a process of stripping things out, you know, paragraph by paragraph or sentence by sentence to see what, and this takes a while, to see exactly what the offending copy may be. I've also found that Gmail does index all the way down to the actual copy on the pages and what the landing pages are. So I've had the exact same copy, and I've had an older link and a newer link, and you know, the older link was going into promotions and the newer link wasn't, because Gmail didn't see that affiliate link in that landing page and flag it as an offer. So they are looking at that level of detail. There's other little tricks that we've employed that would be things you wouldn't even think about. I found one Christmas Day. I mean, we were struggling for months with going back and forth between tabs, and the mere fact that you have an unsub link and some unsub language at the top seems to have some weight with Gmail and whether you're going to go to promotions or not. I don't know if that's due to the fact that it's the first link that maybe they're indexing, so therefore it's going back to your page. So they're going through, and when they're doing the indexing, they're hitting, they're going, oh, that's going back to you and it's your domain, or just the fact that it's an unsub link. But that's one trick that we've found that's really, really helped our placement into the main inbox and avoiding promotions. But yeah, you just got to test, and try different tricks. And the simpler, the better. The more it looks like a promotion, you got a bunch of images, a bunch of tables, you know, smells like promotional. It's heavy HTML. So the simpler it can be, the better.
That was some ninja stuff from Jason right there, everyone. You should re-watch that 10 times if you can, because that's some high level stuff. And it is so true though. Like even just one character can make a huge difference. I think this is like a couple years ago, but it was like we literally added like whatever the from name was, the subject line was. We just added the plural, like S, and it went from like 100%. It switched 100% promotions to 100% primary. And so it can just be, it's simple as one character, right? I don't know how relevant that is anymore, but basically we split test everything like almost 50 times, right? 50 different variations of everything. And you'll see that some of them are landing in 100% primary, some of them are 50% primary, and others are 0% primary. But the main point that I would like to add, kind of going off of Jason's, what he was finishing off there, is plain text emails will always outperform. Like the more HTML that you do have, the more likely that what I've seen it will go to promotions. But if it's just something plain text, very basic, low code in the back end, then it's more likely to hit your primary.
And Jason, sorry, real quick. I just wanted to clarify because there was a question in the chat specific to what you said. So Eric's asking, do you put the unsub link at the top or the bottom of the email? I think there was, or are you just saying in general if there's an upsub link?
No, at the top, above all of your copy. Yeah, and play around with it, whether where it's positioned. So yeah, test it out. It's worked for us. In addition, I mean, you need to be in Postmaster Tools knowing exactly what's going on, and I'm assuming that you're running a dedicated IP then. If you're not, there's not a lot you can do if people are running off of you're running in a group IP. But if you have it dedicated and you're looking at that, you really need to know all of the different IPs that could possibly affect your domain rep. This isn't just your sending IPs. So if you've got a separate server that's sending email out of a form on your website and it gets compromised, or it's sending mail out and it's getting on blacklists, you need to know about it. You need, you need to know every single IP related to your domain and be monitoring that and clean it all up. We've had problems with it and it's bit us in the ass, and you just need to be clean. And once you get to that level, and the cleaner you are over time, you'll be able to send almost anything, and it's going to go, to the promotions. But
yeah, and just to clarify on Eric's question about putting the unsub link at top of the email, yes, put it at the top of the email, but I can see if you're like visualizing that now, it's probably like, what the hell, why would you want your first link to be an unsubscribe link? Isn't that going to result in a lot of unsubscribes? Well, first, it's going to reduce your amount of spam. Joel tested into this, and you're probably visualizing it being the same font size as the entire copy. Just make it very small. Like we send almost all of our font at 18-point font. Literally we have like Transformation Insider, Joel's list. He has a couple lines at the top of every email that in very fine font. I think it's like 10-point font. But it basically says, just a reminder, you're receiving this email because you signed up for one of our fat burning reports, yada, yada, yada. If you do not wish to receive any more health tips that will help you improve your health or whatever, lose weight, then you can easily unsubscribe right here, right? But it's like super tiny, but it's still the very first link, and then it goes into the actual copy. So in terms of Gmail, when they scan it, it's still the very first link. You're looking at back, it goes back to your domain, whether that's the reason it helps, or going back to Jason, just because there is an unsubs link. But that's essentially what it is. So it's a very small font. Don't make the, hey, unsubscribe please, as your first CTA, right? But that does also reduce spam for us tremendously. So
I think it's important. I think it's important too, to like with a lot of the builders, depending on what email system you're using, if you're using like the what you see is what you get builders and like drag and blocks here and there, the actual code of the underlying email gets very messy. And I think it's pretty important to have a look at that, clean up the code, take out, and when I say clean up the code, I know that a lot of people might not, sort of understand that, but even, paying a developer just for a little bit to simplify so that you're not sending anything that you don't absolutely have to be sending, and keeping everything tight would have a huge impact on whether or not, it's being sent as an HTML or a plain text email. And where it goes.
Yeah, and the last little bit I would have on this topic is, I don't know whether this is accurate or not, but this is just the way I like to see it, is that the more likely that Gmail thinks that this is coming from a friend to a friend, the more likely they are to put it into primary, right? So when you're writing your email, think of it as, would I send this email to a friend? What's the code like? Am I sending images? Am I sending all these CTAs and all these graphs or whatever, super heavy HTML to a friend? Most likely not, right? I feel like that is probably just a basic, if you don't know anything about code or you don't know anything about any of this and it's just a basic foundation, just think of it as, is this likely would I likely send this to a friend? And then that's just a basic way to kind of filter whether you would think it hit primary or promotions.
And then one thing I'm going to chime in real, guys, we have 14 minutes left and we still have a few more questions. So
get into some questions.
We'll start lightning them in. Lightning rounds.
Lightning round. So this is a really good all around kind of general question. So it's from Chris. For media buyers expanding to lists, are there any landmines we should avoid as we get going? That's a good one. I
think you should always find out.
Media buyer.
Always know where the list came from, how it was generated. Is it people that opted in for a free coupon for Tide to Go, or is it people that bought a $97 product, right? I think that it's important to know how the list was generated. And based on that, you can get a general idea. That's probably the best place to start.
And then I guess if there's any other level of segmentation demographics that you can pull from that list, not everybody's going to have that level, but if they've got, gender, they've got age groups, certainly ask, they may. So you may be able to segment down to the most relevant in a list and get a much better response rate.
Oh, Christian, did you look? No, you wanted to, okay. Didn't want to step on your toes. Okay, this is a question from Jeffro. It was back on the Gmail kind of, and this was and do you have an updated resource for spam words to avoid using in your emails? Are there any updated resources for spam words to avoid?
Okay, so used to, yes. I used to have this Bible. Like when I was at Six Pack, I was like, oh, I will never use the word free. I will never use the word gift and all this stuff, right? But if you look at Joel's recent, this isn't BioTrust, his recent offer. It's a book that he's pushing to be on the New York Times bestsellers. The from name in all caps is free cookbook, and that's the #1 tested from name, right? So when I saw that, I was like, I think that throws away everything I've ever thought about caps, right? About the word free. So my short answer is no. I mean, you don't want to scam them with a bunch of like characters or, just be within your I guess, common sense. But I don't know. That's a good question. Luke or Jason, what do y'all think?
I would say it all depends also on, your reputation, your IP rep with Gmail. We've found that our spam words or whatever words are going to get us stuck into promotions varies based on our reputation. At times, if we've got a medium rep, the word metabolism has gotten us in trouble, which, that's a key part of our business. So you just need to test, and you need to have an understanding of kind of where you sit with your domain and IP rep. And, you can loosen or tighten based on that. So, but yeah, you might want to avoid celebrity names, anything that seems spammy, those of all, I've had some copy where we've tried to pull some of those things off, but maybe don't put Kim Kardashian in your email.
Oprah.
How do you guys feel about emojis in the subject line?
I actually used a creative recently to Barton's offer, and we had a blood sugar offer, and he used the emoji. It was like the subject line was lemon water with the emoji of an actual lemon, and that did really well for us. It actually got the highest open rate of all his creatives. So I think it's just kind of don't use more than one maybe, and use it sparingly. If you're using it all the time, it probably loses its glow, I would think.
There's a couple offers that I use the ringing bell notification in the from name. But other than that, I'm not doing a whole bunch of emojis and subject lines. I'm just not seeing it. Like nobody's sending me subject lines with that. That was kind of me just playing around with the from name, trying to figure out what would get the best opens. So it looked like it worked for that offer, but I don't use them widely.
Yeah, we don't use them widely at all. I've been asked to test them, so it's something that's certainly going to make the cut at some point, but haven't dug into that yet.
All right, we've got another question from George. Suggestions on cleaning tools to get deeper insights to things affecting deliverability. What do you guys use in terms of, and that actually kind of segues into another question here. What are your top email platforms and deliverability and or other tools you use on a daily basis? So what are you guys using on a daily basis for deliverability and or cleaning, etc.?
We have our own validator that we wrote. We worked with a developer team to build it, so I'm using that every day. But other validators like Kickbox, Bright Verify, Debounce is a good one that's fairly inexpensive. We've got those set up on all of the opt-in forms, and then every 90 days or so we'll run every list that we have through like the validator, to ensure that we're not hitting spam traps, and stuff like that. I also said we use seed testers. So OK250 or 250 OK is the seed tester that we use, and it just shoots us emails. And then when we mail those emails, it tells us, like, this is kind of where you're going. This is what's wrong, or it notifies me of a problem before it's too catastrophic for us to roll back on. So those are two big tools that I'm using on a daily basis.
Go ahead.
No. Literally, I was just saying I agree. And I think, Jason, you were saying you guys are Return Path certified too, right?
Yeah, so we do use the Return Path platform, and we have the certification there, and then we also have seeds that are sent out and use their monitoring tools. We did use 250 OK in the past, but I think Christian, between the two of us, we kind of broke our ability to use that, if you recall.
Yeah.
I don't think they liked all the 50 segment tests we were pounding. Anyway, and then we use Tower data also on all of our forums.
Tower data, that's a good one. Tower data and X-Verify is a good scrubbing list service that we use. But yeah, those are all good tools. All good tools.
Perfect. Well, I think we are out of questions officially right now. Again, if anybody has one last minute question, or please throw it in the Q&A section so we can see it. But other than that, we are out. So one last thing for you guys, for our experts. Are you looking for new offers right now? And if you are, how can someone get a hold of you?
Well, quick thing, because I see a very valid question from Tom, and I want to address that just one last real quick. It's basically, he's asking
the wait period. Do you wait a period of time after you make a sale on your product before you send offers to other affiliates? So for new sales, new customers, do you wait before you offer other offers to the customer? And Tom, just so you know, I didn't see it because it wasn't in the Q&A, but we got it now.
Yeah. It really depends on a lot of, for us, for example, we like to, if we can sell them another internal product, great. How many offers do you have? If you just have a one-off ClickBank offer and you don't have anything else to cross promo, then yeah, the length of time I would wait is what, like 12 hours before I hit them up again. Maybe a few hours before that or after. But those are going to be your hottest people that are going to buy stuff, right? Your buyers are always going to buy new stuff. So don't, you want to strike when the iron's hot kind of thing. I would just hit them right away, whether it's an internal or affiliate promo. I don't care whether, I'm not going to let my ego get the best of me. I just want to make the most money. So even if my pride and glory is, everything I put my life into is going to make $10 less than, say, Joe Schmo's affiliate offer, I'm going to put Joe Schmo's affiliate offer in front of mine because it's more money in my pocket, right?
We hit them on the thank you page. That's how little we don't wait.
Yeah. What is it, like 0.2 second load time then?
Yeah, exactly. Depending on which way the wind's blowing, wherever the server is.
There was a question about if we use Maripost, and I answered it in the thingy and didn't know it would dismiss the darn question. I just said that BTTI and Sherpa, yes, we do. But Luke, I don't know what you use.
Yeah, we use Maripost, and I've used them all. Entreport, Maripost, Aweber, and my one thing is that we're on Maripost now because we grew into Maripost. And it's got all the levers and things that, like, some stuff we don't even use, but
I have a question about that a lot of people ask me. Maripost is pricey, right? So for the small guys and the medium guys who are not at Maripost level yet, can you guys recommend a couple ESPs that are solid, that allow affiliate marketing, right? And that kind of thing. And then I also saw, never mind. Just that question.
I love Entreport.
I do too. I think Entreport is a great medium You can easily change your from name, which is important.
That is very important.
It is very important. Not all ESPs change your from name. And if you can find an ESP that allows you to change your from name, just that probably pays for the ESP itself.
I agree.
So launch report, and you can literally do it on a campaign to campaign basis. You don't have to create a new sender profile. You don't have to do anything. You can just type it in the from name.
What about SendLane? A lot of people ask me about SendLane, and I don't know anything about it.
I haven't done much with SendLane.
I will defer.
I do have some knowledge with a friend who's used it, and they do allow affiliate offers. You can change your from names, but I believe you've got to create a new profile in there. And I guess the other thing, having branded links, that's another kind of stickler and a must-have. I don't think that they allow that.
Do you guys have any tips for changing ESPs?
Only try to do it once.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
As far as, warming up new IPs and domains. I mean, we just went through that and warmed up our new metabolic living domain. So you just go slow, take your time. We had the luxury of porting over quite a few addresses from our NHS list, and those were very, very active, and it was doing it over a 30-day challenge that we had. So it was very successful and kind of the perfect way to do it. But take your time. If you can do it over, the course of a month, and slowly add chunks of, 5,000 or so, depending on the number of IPs you have. You have to look at how many you're adding per IP. You want to do that as well. And just make sure your setup is on point with your SPF records and everything else.
Right. Those are huge points. And it really does depend on, or a huge factor in switching ESPs is whether you're using dedicated IPs previously, or if you're, what IPs you're planning on using. Usually if you're kind of, unless you're sending at volume, you're probably using a shared IP pool. And when you are switching to a new ESP, you negotiate. I like to negotiate that right off the bat, because there's going to be different shared IP pools, right? People think that for example, there's a bad shared IP pool, let's call it, a medium, which is average, and then the good shared IP pool. And depending on what your sending practices are, based off your engagement, it will place you in certain shared pools, right? So whenever I'm like, hey, I'm going to switch into USP, I'm considering you guys, but we're also looking at several others. Would you be willing to put us in your shared IP pool, shared grid, your good shared pool right off the bat? We have a good sending history. Our domain is fine. We don't send any kind of spam. Here's some of the examples of the content that we like to send, and our sending practices. Here's what we do. And when you show them that, you're making a request. Hey, I want to put in I want to be put amongst your best, right? And when that does, by the way, side note, that makes a huge impact. If you're rubbing shoulders with these people, right? So if you're going to be in a good shared pool, you're going to be again with other people who have, let's say, at least 20% open rates, and you're using their IPs, right? So it's going to rub off positively on you. On the flip hand, if you're even just a normal shared pool, then you're kind of at risk of other people that are in that pool and what they're sending, right? So you could have the best practices ever, but if the guy in your neighbor is sending crap, then that's going to eventually rub off on you. So you want to make sure that you're put into a good shared pool. And so when you're making that negotiation off the bat, you'd be like, this is my request. I will sign with you guys if you can commit me to this shared IP pool, a good shared pool. And here's our practices and what we're going to be sending. And if we stick to these, then there's no reason to take us out of the shared pool. And so they have to commit to that. And so that's kind of that's something kind of huge. And it makes the warm-up process easier. That's just I guess my tip for it.
Yeah, I second that. And when we warmed this up, we started off with Maripost's best IP pool, and then we transferred over into our own dedicated over time, as we had a really good group. And we went from that shared IP pool, and then took our basically our highest engaged emails and started mailing those from the dedicated pool, and then kind of transferred things over time.
So it looks like we have a last couple questions here, and we probably need to wrap it up. From Jeffro. So Klaviyo, has anyone heard of Klaviyo? And what do you guys think about that? Although they are tricky with third-party offers. And then his last question, are you guys also using other communication methods like Facebook Messenger, SMS, etc.?
So it would, to touch on Klaviyo, I wouldn't, it's if someone is like on the fence about third-party offers, you know, you're talking about like AWeber or one of these companies, you're going to be super disappointed if you start building a massive list and then you've got to switch because they don't, you know, they're not super keen on third-party offers. So I think it's best to start with a service that is, you know, kind of knows affiliate marketing and is okay with it right off the bat. And if you're looking at sort of price and everything like that, Ontraport at sort of starting out volumes is like $79 a month. It's hard to argue with a price like that. And the value that you get from that $79 a month is mind blowing.
100% agree.
And I'm not even a customer.
I don't even use them.
I don't even use it. I used to.
I'm gonna sign up for it just so I get the value.
Yeah. I actually do have an account.
Yeah. Perfect. So we'll wrap it up a little bit here, guys. Yes. So if you guys are looking for new offers, obviously good offers, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Email for me, C. McClure. I have it right in here.
And we'll go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
I was like, after the replay, so everybody, whatever email address or Skypes or whatever their communication gives you, when we send out the replay, which will be probably either this afternoon or tomorrow, it'll have all the links to their contact information.
Nice.
I just put mine in the chat as well. It's luke@inbox-experts.com. So
Perfect.
That'll go right to me.
For Sherpa, it's me, d@metabolicliving.com.
Perfect. Well, let everybody know who's listening on Facebook or on live on Zoom. This is a part 1 next month in July. It's the third Thursday every month. We're going to have this mastermind, but in July, it's going to be part 2. We'll have a separate set of panelists and experts. But right now, thank you so much to Luke DiMarco, Christian McClure, and Jason Krupsky. Your knowledge bombs were amazing. And as always, in the words of Jerry Springer, take care of yourselves and each other. Till next time, guys.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. We'll see you guys later.